Creation. Let's ask Paul Hocker from London Play what he thinks about this Hackney scheme to reclaim London streets for our children so they can play outside. Hiya, Paul. Morning to you.
Morning, Vanessa.
Does it sound like a tremendous idea?
It's music to my ears. I love it. I love it. It's something that we've been working on for maybe 2-3 years here at London Play, and I commend Hackney Council and the residents there that have done a great job at making it happen.
Do you think, therefore, other councils should get on board pretty sharpish and just simply say, yeah, OK, we'll do it too, and then we won't have to have it debated in council chambers the length and breadth of London, and we won't have to wait to see what the political stand is on each of these things. We can just get on with it.
Well, look, let me tell you something, Vanessa. You're probably not aware of this, but I've got my fingers in many pies at the moment, and each pie's got Play Street written on it.
Okay.
There's a lot going on in London to do with people wanting to make play a more permanent presence on their street. So we've got the Hackney thing going on, which is fabulous, but I'm also working with residents in Croydon, in Islington, Southwark, Richmond, Waltham Forest, who all want to see this happen.
Right.
Now, the local councils, God bless them, they're a little bit fearful and hesitant, but when they see another local council doing something, that empowers them, gives them a little bit of Dutch courage, and we're seeing that with some of these councils. They're all looking at Hackney and going, well, if Hackney can do it, then we can do it. And Croydon's a really good example. They're really exploring it quite sort of actively and positively, and it's a beautiful thing. It's really lovely.
I mean, are there any downsides? I suppose if you live in the road and you don't have young children and you try to get in or out and they say, well, the road's closed to traffic, or you're having a party, or it's your birthday and you want loads of people round and they're all coming in cars, but actually it's the day that your road is closed off. I suppose there might be a few people who aren't altogether thrilled, or do you think by and large it's an easy sell, this one?
I think it's fairly easy sell. I mean, you're not shutting the road for the whole day, and you are letting residents in and out. Obviously, they can get access and emergency vehicles. What you're shutting the street off to is through traffic for a short period of time. In terms of how many hours drivers can drive down that street in a week compared to how many hours children can play in the street, it's very minimal. But it's a major thing for those children. We know, having done surveys now, colleagues at Play England having done surveys, that this is the place that children want to play out, right outside their front door, so they can run in for a glass of water or get a plaster for their knee. They can make friends, and what they're doing the adults a favour, because by going in and out of each other's houses, they're socially pollinating the street. They're like little bumblebees of social activity,
yes.
And they connect the street up. So they're doing the street a favour as well.
I mean, we all have this view, a kind of halcyon view. It's a little bit like the advert for the Hovis, that in our youth all we ever did was just play out the whole time. And the fact is, I did.
Yeah,
we all did, didn't we? I mean, we used to get up in the morning. We used to go and sit on our bikes in our drive or just in front of our house and wait for somebody else to come out and sit on their bike in front of their house, and off we'd go. That's it. That really is it. It's not a kind of glorious, romanticised view of the truth. It's the truth. We did. But how long has it been since children just automatically took it as their God-given right to play in the road outside their houses?
I think over the last 20 years, things have sort of deteriorated, and there's a few factors that have played into that. One is the rising levels of traffic. I mean, since the 70s and late 60s, car ownership's really just gone up through the roof. But the other thing is stranger danger, a perceived fear of strangers, which is another thing that Play Streets address, because it gets people to know each other. But big stories like the Madeleine McCann story, these rare one-off horrible incidents that people say, well, actually, I'm not comfortable with my child playing out. But when you look at it, I mean, it's kind of lottery kind of chances of your child, something happening to your child. In fact, safer streets are streets where more children are playing out, because they look out for each other. Yeah. So I think it's been the last 20 years. So we've got to artificially recreate a sympathetic habitat for children to play out in, because the way cities are designed, they're not designed, unfortunately, in London's case, for children. They are in Berlin, they are in other cities, but not in London.
And what do we know about the ratio of gardens per child in London? So that, if you were lucky enough to grow up in a house with a garden, you had the choice. You either go and play out front with the other kids, or you could play in your back garden. But if you live in a big tower block, or if you live in a conversion or whatever it is, then you don't really have the chance of playing in a garden at all.
That's right. I mean, you were brought up in Totteridge, weren't you?
I was.
I was Southgate, so we probably had gardens.
We definitely had gardens, yeah.
But where you were born, done my research. You were born in Islington.
On the Holloway Road, that's where I was born. The Royal Northern Hospital, not big on gardens around there.
Not much green space around there.
No.
So Islington's a really good example of where play streets are not only a good thing for society, but an essential thing for the children living on the streets. They don't have the green space to run around, and if we want future Olympic champions, we've got to give children space to run around. You know, you can't substitute it for a trampoline in a back garden so they just bounce up and down all day. They need to run up and down. They need to feel a sense of ownership of their street as well, their space where they live, which when they get to teenagers, you know, they're less likely to vandalise a space that they feel an ownership of.
Yes.
So I can't tell you how many good things come out of this, and I know that Department of Health are looking at this. Our beloved Mayor is looking at this through his Childhood Obesity Forum. So things are changing on every level, both at a grassroots level with people contacting London Play for advice, but also, you know, the political level as well. Everyone's seeing this as a really good idea.
So a key message is, you know, where Hackney leads, let other London boroughs follow, and let them follow nice and quickly.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
speed it up nice and fast. Let's not take forever debating this and churning this one out. Let's go for it. Seems like a phenomenal idea. Of course, the parents have got to be committed to it, though, haven't they? They've got to be committed enough to be disciplined enough to ask for the permission, to make sure they police the cars coming in and out on the day. I mean, it takes some kind of commitment and time to do. It's not as easy as just flinging your children out the door and saying go to it, which is what used to happen to us.
I don't know about that. I think, you know, on a street there's plenty of adults that want to get involved. We've just seen a whole load of volunteers make the Olympics fantastic. Volunteering is something that people will do if they think it's worthwhile. And I know a street in Southwark where they've been doing unofficial street closures for children to play out on, and it's not just the parents, it's some of the older people on the street. You know, everybody that wants to see it happen gets involved. So I don't think there's a problem getting adult volunteers to sort of be a safe presence on the street. And certainly children. We did 100 street parties funded by the lottery a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And on every single one, when you shut the street off to traffic, the children burst out of the door, and it was like, you know, the end of Free Willy when they take him out of the artificial tank and they put him back in the sea,
yes,
and he does all those flips. That's what each party was like. The children were just filling that space with play and having a good time. They know what to do when they give them the space. We, as Londoners, need to give our younger citizens that space to play.
Paul, great to talk to you. It always is. Thank you for joining us. That's Paul Hocker from London Play. He's a man who's absolutely in love with what he does, as you can tell. And I'm asking you, and now you've heard about it, this scheme in Hackney, they borrowed it from somewhere else, I think Bristol or somewhere like that, where you can ring up and get the street closed down to traffic so that your kids can play outside, and you can do it once a month, you can do it once a week, you can do whatever you want, and they're not making it difficult or complicated. The parents are in charge. If you really need to come in your car, they'll say okay, and they'll walk alongside your car to make sure you don't drive any faster than 5 miles an hour. Sounds like a great one, doesn't it? I can't see much of a downside. I'm trying, but I can't. Let's ask Navlet in Leighton.